Hello everybody, welcome to another George Crafts video. Today we're going to talk about amigurumi. This video has been made because I've had a few questions from people on their crochet kits that they've bought. They've messaged me and said, oh, I'm not quite sure what to do, and I've not worked in the round before and I've not done amigurumi before, so I'm just going to do a little video just to kind of give you the basics really. So what is amigurumi? It's actually a Japanese word, and very loosely it means sort of knitted or crocheted stuffed doll. Most people associate the word amigurumi with crochet, although they can be knitted as well. They're really popular, and I really like them personally because they're just nice small projects that you can do, and you don't need to know a lot of stitches, and it's not something like a huge jumper or something that you can get overwhelmed with, so it makes you feel like you've achieved something. So this shark here, this was made using amigurumi techniques. So most amigurumi is worked in a continuous spiral. So what I mean by that is you start with a ring and then you just work round and round until you've got the shape that you want, and you alter the shape of your finished piece by putting in increases in a fairly regular pattern or decreases in the same way. So this shark, for example, he was started here at the point of his nose and then worked round in a spiral like this. Okay, this white piece was made flat and then sewn on afterwards, and the fins and the tail were separate and then joined on afterwards, but the main body shape, this sort of cone shape, was made with amigurumi techniques. So there's a couple of different ways you can start working in amigurumi. So you can have the magic ring, which I like a lot, and you can have double crochet 6 into a ring. It doesn't have to be 6, it can be any number, but 6 is quite common. So we'll start off by showing you those two beginnings. I have done videos just on double crochet into a ring and the magic ring before, so if that's all you want to see, go and check those videos out. They're on our YouTube channel and on our blog. So this is double crochet 6 into a ring. So you start with a slip knot on your hook. You make 2 chain stitches, so that's 1 and that's 2. Then you make all your double crochets, so we're going to make 6 into the back loop of the first chain. So there's 1, whoops, and 2, whoops, three, 4, 5, and 6. There we go. So then all you do is just pull on the tail of your yarn and that will tighten and close that hole. You don't join together with a slip stitch, you just leave it as 6 stitches. So I'll show you how to make the magic ring, and then I'll talk about working in a spiral. So, to work with a magic or adjustable ring, put your hand in front of you with your fingers facing upwards and lay your yarn with the tail pointing towards you over the top. And then take your yarn around your fingers so you've got 2 pieces of yarn on the top. Take your crochet hook and pull the yarn through that piece, and then grab hold of your yarn again and pull it through the loop on your hook. Okay, and then what you do is, where there are 2 pieces of yarn, so you've got this ring and the tail, you want to put your hook underneath those 2 pieces and bring a yarn back, and then close those loops, and that's your first double crochet. So that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, 5, and 1 more makes 6. So I'm just going to pull this loop round a little so it doesn't unravel while I'm showing you things. So I've got my stitches, but this ring's really quite baggy. So what you do, you just find the tail of your yarn and pull it round to close the loop. Okay? So now you've got 6 stitches in a ring again. So it looks the same once it's finished as the double crochet 6 into a ring. It's up to you what method you prefer. I find the magic ring easier, but some people might find double crochet into a ring easier. It's just up to you. You try them both and see which one you like the best. So we're going to work in a spiral now. And one of the things that can bring you into difficulty when you start to work in a spiral is, if you see here, it's just a continuous line. You don't have particular rounds, so you don't go round and join in, chain, go round and join in, chain, go round and join in. You just have the spiral, and it can be very difficult to know where the start of one round is compared to the end of the next one, and for that reason we use stitch markers, or if you don't have a stitch marker you can use just a spare scrap piece of yarn. So I will show you again just how we start, and then I'll put the stitch marker in place. So just going to chain 1, chain 2, and then pop my hook back through the first chain and then make my double crochets. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, just get that out of the way, 5, and 6. So if the 6th stitch is the end of the first round, we're going to begin our second round here in the first stitch that we made. So we want to be able to mark the end of the first round. So we can either pop a stitch marker or our scrap yarn. So if I want to put my scrap yarn, I just poke my hook through the stitch, whoops, and then just pull the yarn through. Okay, so then we're good to go. So we'll increase it to 12 stitches. So we're going to do 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9, and 10, and then 11, and 12. Okay, so now 12, this one here, that's the end of our second round. So you have two choices. You can either keep adding on a new stitch marker for every round if you want to, or you can just take your previous row's stitch marker off and use it on your next stitch. So I'm just going to pop a little stitch marker on here. Now I like to just use one stitch marker at a time because it can get very bulky otherwise. However, if you're just beginning, this is your first go at amigurumi, I would suggest that you do keep marking the end of each row, because that way if you do end up making a mistake, it's easier to go back and find the place where it was correct most recently. So if you have to unpick, you don't have to unpick it all, you only have to unpick to the last stitch marker. So just have a go and see how you get on, see what you prefer doing. So if I were to take this stitch marker away, I'll show you what happens if you haven't got a stitch marker. So we'll try and increase to 18. So 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, and 1, 2 and 3, and 1, 2 and 3. And now imagine somebody's come to the door, or your phone's just gone off, or you know, the postman's just arrived. So you put it down and then you come back to it and you think, right, where was I? So you start counting your stitches. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I've only got 16. So if we go 17, so you don't know where you are, basically. Or you could just keep going round and round and round. So I think if I went... So that's 17 and 18. So we'll try and increase to 24. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, postman's come again. He's got the parcel that he's got for me. Put down my crochet, go and answer the door, come back. Let's count how many stitches we've got now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I've got 18, but I already started my round. So now I don't know how far I am, because I can't now count back to my stitch marker and say, right, I've done so many stitches and that means I need to do so many more, because it just goes round and round in a circle. So that's why we use the stitch marker. So just one more tip for you. When you're making amigurumi, they come in all different shapes and sizes. So this shark was made from the nose towards the tail. Okay, so I had to attach the tail separately. So my shark, when I first finished, was this narrow here. Now you have to stuff these. So it's going to be really difficult to get all of this stuffing through a tiny little hole. So what I like to do is I like to try and stuff my pieces as I make them. So this is one that I've started again, so I've started from the top and I'm working towards the tail, and you can see I've stuffed as I've gone, but the finished pattern piece for this stage is just 5 double crochets around. So if you imagine trying to force all of your stuffing through a tiny little hole that's just 5 stitches round, you're going to be there a very, very long time. So that's my final top tip for your amigurumi. If you have any more questions, please get in touch with me. Please let me know and I will try my very best to help you. You never know, you might end up with your question being featured in the next video. So I hope you enjoy having some fun making some little characters. Don't forget to share some pictures with us on the blog, and any questions, just write them in the comments below, or find me on Facebook, on Instagram, and I will try very, very hard to help you. Okay, so I will see you again soon.